Hey guys, welcome back. Midweek energy update. We have some more big energy to talk about as we hit the midpoint of our week this week. We actually have two planets changing signs that are going to be the focal point of our report for today. One of them is Venus retrograding from Aries back into the sign of Pisces, and she will also be coming into exact conjunction with Neptune. It's a dream world out there. We might be in some sort of fantasy land today. Very kind of like surreal, ethereal energy going on as we move through the midpoint of our week. The other big focal point that I want to talk about today is the black moon is changing signs, entering the sign of Scorpio, concluding a 9-month transit through the sign of Libra. The black moon rules our fears, worries, insecurities, doubts, our shadow side issues, the depths of our psyche, the things that we don't really see or notice or pay attention to or even have an awareness of. However, they actually tend to be very powerful in kind of like dictating our courses of action, behavior, how we think and feel about things. So this is a powerful influence, and with the black moon changing signs, we are beginning a new 9-month journey through the underworld of our own psyches, and we need to talk about that today as well. Lots going on out there. Of course, we are still in this eclipse window right now. We are in the last 2 days of our 2024 astrological lunar year, which will conclude as we begin the new 2025 astro year on Saturday with the new moon in Aries coming up. And Neptune is hanging out at 29 degrees of Pisces for this next couple of days as well, also concluding an approximately like 165-year cycle that has been playing out through that past span of time. So lots of energy emphasizing endings, also these new beginnings that we're moving towards. But if you feel yourself sort of just hanging on by a thread out there this week, heading into the weekend, you guys, honestly, that's the vibe. Let's get into it. We got a lot to talk about, lots to cover in our report for the day. Let's look at where we're at as we move through Wednesday and Thursday of this week and how things are coming together for us as we head towards the weekend and our new moon in Aries solar eclipse. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Today is Wednesday, March 26th, 2025. My name is Aubrey. This is your astrological outlook of the day, where we are narrating the shift of the ages. And if you guys stick with me until the end of this report, I have done a collective tarot reading for us today as well. I like to tap the energy field for more than one modality whenever I'm doing these energy overviews, just to get an alternative energetic perspective on what's going on out there. So there could be some messages in there for you. We will do that at the end. We are starting with the astrology, and we've got lots of astrology going on out there. You may sort of be moving through this past couple of weeks just being like, what on earth is going on? Like, just feel like you don't know what world you're even existing in anymore. And as we honestly do move through this energy today, and specifically into the energy of tomorrow, Thursday the 27th, which is our focal point for this video today, you may find yourself just like literally feeling at the end of the road in terms of something at your wit's end, totally over something, this perhaps very strong desire to escape, to release, or to be released, to avoid, to like just somehow become uninvolved in some type of dynamic, perhaps a relationship dynamic, situation with another person. This could also be like a project or partnership dynamic. It could have to do with assets or finances, like land, property, legal situations as well, all things pertaining to the Venus energy and what that rules. Venus is retrograde right now, which is a period of time that always often has us reconsidering what it is that we want, but coming into a conjunction with Neptune as she re-enters the sign of Pisces at 29 degrees, the very last degree of the entire zodiac, as we are concluding this entire energetic year and like moving through the very tail end of our Pisces season, which also represents endings, which also happens to be a south node lunar eclipse, which is also about being released from the past, like karmic endings and stuff like that as well. And the fact that we are simply talking about Neptune right now being at 29 degrees of Pisces, the very last degree of the zodiac, that is also marking some type of significant ending regarding the Neptunian energy that's going on. And of course, Neptune rules the sign of Pisces, which is where this is taking place. So all things, all planets in the sign of Pisces right now, on one hand, there's a reference to endings simply by their ruler's position happening to be at the final degree of his sign. And then with Venus coming right there, as I mentioned, you know, getting this little tangent here started and being retrograde, it's also about the past. So if I keep talking about endings, the past, and I feel like all astrologers out there, no matter what system of astrology that you're studying, there is an emphasis on endings right now. It's just the way that it's coming through, and it's, again, like, it's not just once, it's repeated. Like, it's over there, and it's over there, and it's over there, and oh look, you know, it's right there too. It's everywhere. And it's so I just keep saying it over and over and over. But you're probably, I would imagine that most people are dealing with at least something or some element of their lives or something in their lives, whether, you know, it's something minute and small, such as even like a behavior that they're changing, or, you know, way of thinking that's shifting, or maybe it is kind of like all encompassing and it's an entire total life change. I do imagine that there is some element of something ending, again, either in small ways or big ways, for pretty much everybody out there right now, just because of the like full immersion of this ending energy that we have going on. Now, of course, we are, after today and tomorrow and Friday, the 29th, that's our new moon in Aries. Okay, that's our solar eclipse energy. New moon in Aries, sun and the moon coming together in the sign of Aries. That indicates rebirth, fresh start, new beginning. It's also a solar eclipse in this case, which, and it's with the North Node. So this puts the emphasis more on like the destiny side of things, like things just falling into place, divine intervention, divine alignment, like fated events, as opposed to the more like karmic, past oriented nature of things that have been going on while we've been moving through the South Node. The South Node is associated with the past. That is the eclipse that we've been moving through, was a South Node lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipses too are about releasing something, with the moon releasing the past, being released from some karmic cycle, therefore emphasis on the past in a lot of ways, and emphasis on what is ending right now. On the flip side of that, this new moon in Aries, Aries is the first sign of zodiac. This is the beginning of our new 2025 astrological lunar year that will take us all the way through our Pisces lunar cycle, where we're at now, but next year. And it's a solar eclipse with the North Node. Okay, so this one is much more about the future, whereas the last one was about the past, and this is about a fresh start and a rebirth as well, whereas the last one was about the emotional release component, mostly in terms of karmic attachments or karmic cycles or karmic lessons, or just things from the past, old eras, old epics, old ages, like old orders of power and control and stuff like that, old paradigms that we've existed within, coming to their completion, being at a point of transition, but it's in this very fated, destined way. Like, this was always the time that it needed to happen, and we always had to go through that set of experiences to become the person that we needed to be, so that this next new phase of progression can come in. So that's where we're heading. But I do kind of want to preface this also by saying, even though that's where we're heading, and we do have this new moon in Aries coming up, I've also been saying there's still, like, the brakes are still on to some extent. We still have some very, very strong Saturnian energy that is really playing a primary role in the way that things are unfolding right now, and through this next couple of weeks, and even once we start moving through the Aries cycle. I do think it might be kind of like midway through April before we really feel like things are orienting themselves perhaps in a more forward direction. I mean, as we start the new moon in Aries that is going to come in this weekend, Mercury's still retrograde, Venus is still retrograde, they're in Pisces, Saturn's going to come into a conjunction with the North Node. Next, we've had all these planets conjoining the North Node, which they're going to do again. Venus and Mercury will conjoin the North Node again because they are now preparing to retrograde through Pisces. That's something that we're going to be talking about next week. But we have a Saturn North Node conjunction coming up next, and that is, again, like karmic lessons. That is clamping a little bit down on growth. You know, that is having to do things the slow way and the right way, so we make sure they get done properly so that they can become what they're truly meant to become and not just like a cheap version of that. Things are being done with a level of quality right now, not a level of like speed and quickness. So just kind of understand that, you know, mentally prepare yourself that even though we are approaching the time of year and energy that is going to be supportive of us, kind of like moving into this next chapter or area of our lives, like starting something new, going in a new direction, it probably is going to be more of a slow, gradual process than maybe we would prefer. Okay, but nonetheless, we're getting there and we are moving out of this very strong karmic emphasis on the ending type of energy, and our eclipse window will also be closing after we move through this upcoming weekend. So I think that we're going to start to feel a bit more sane as we move into the energy of next week. But all these Neptune conjunctions at 29 degrees of Pisces, like this is really, really distorting things, you guys. Like you may find yourself just like dealing with levels of skewed reality and like people not seeing things clearly, but like not being able to straighten it out even because you just like can't convey or communicate properly the way that you need to. Like really, this is a profound time of kind of like everybody living in their own bubble based on their own perception, and it's a real challenge right now to relate those like realities with one another. People, I do think, are very, very much more so like skewed by the perspective and the perception through which they are viewing things as opposed to perhaps the actual real story that's going on. Okay, so all of that. Now, of course, we do have some vibe shifts that are likely to be taking place as we hit the midpoint of our week this week, because we do have these planets that are changing signs, as I mentioned. Venus retrograding back into Pisces, and the black moon entering the sign of Scorpio. We're going to be talking much more about that as we get towards the end of the report. We also have the moon in Pisces squaring Jupiter in Gemini on Thursday. I'm mainly focused on the energy for Thursday on this report, you guys. That's because Thursday, March 27th is when we have this activity taking place. That is when Venus retrogrades back and conjoins Neptune. And that is also when the black moon enters the sign of Scorpio. So I am primarily talking about energy for Thursday. Also, while we do have this activity playing out on Thursday, the moon will be transiting through the sign of Pisces with all of the other planets and forming a square to Jupiter. Right now, another one of these energetic indications and the repeating patterns that just keep jumping out everywhere saying the same thing. Another one of them is this huge stellium of planets that we have right now in the end of Pisces and the beginning of Aries. Like everything, it seems like, is in between those signs. And right now, of course, as we are moving through our balsamic moon phase, preparing for our new moon in Aries coming up next, the moon has re-entered the sign of Pisces and is moving through Pisces with all of those planets, and will conjoin the planets in Aries as it moves into Aries as well, which again, like Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So everything is like teetering in between there. And then we've got planets like retrograding back and forth, like going back and forth between the past and the future, the tug of war between karma and destiny. It's like just everywhere. So we've got that going on. As I said before, endings being highlighted. Yes, last 2 days of our 2024 astro year, last 2 days of Pisces season, balsamic moon phase, all of those are endings. Venus conjoining Neptune at 29 degrees of sign of Pisces. That is about obviously endings. The last time that Neptune was at 29 degrees of Pisces, you guys, was March 27th of 1861. So there's our delta since the last time, or March 27th and the days surrounding, because Neptune stays at any degree for several days. But it's funny, on this exact same day in 1861, Neptune was at 29 degrees the last time around. Also, the last time the black moon was at 0 degrees of Scorpio, which is another energy we'll be talking about today, was May 25th of 2016. So in terms of the black moon dimension of things, we are throwing it back to the spring, summer of 2016. And thirdly, Venus is also back at the same place as she was in the conjunction to Neptune on February 1st. Now, May 2nd of this year could relate somehow to things going on right now as well. February 1st, March 27th, and May 2nd are all connected in terms of the Venus energy, Venus in a conjunction with Neptune. This could have to do with creativity. It could have to do with, again, like relationships, everything ruled by Venus, like specifically love and money, but it's also other people, legal situations. It can be kind of like business project oriented, resources, assets, financial, everything, economies, food, land, property, image. Also, like people could be changing their appearance and stuff, but there could be some thread that you are connecting between February 1st of, you know, just last month, today, March 27th, and also May 2nd is the third hit of this Venus-Neptune conjunction. However, it's going to be a much different vibe, because that one will be in the sign of Aries. The first one was, I think, at 27 or 28 degrees of Pisces. The second one, of course, at 29 degrees Pisces, the very end. This is like what we're trying to get out of, like the desire to like escape from something or to be released from something. But the next one, the conjunction in Aries, that's like a desire to attain some new ideal, like some new beginning, some fresh start, whatever is on its way out right now. I do think by the time that we get to that May 2nd alignment, we're going to be embracing something very new, and we might be very idealistic about that, or it could be, you know, something that is very much associated with some vision that we have or something like that. But interesting that one will be in Aries, and these two previous ones were at the tail end of Pisces. In a nutshell, though, you guys, I feel like the energy specifically on Thursday, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, really, as we close out the last couple of days of this astrological year right here in our Pisces cycle, it's like disillusionment and this longing to let go of something. The moon on Thursday, on the 27th, will be transiting the sign of Pisces, coming into a square with Jupiter and Gemini. This could provide a level of, you know, hope or optimism or faith that is coming through somehow. But I just feel like this is a very, very emotional energy, okay? The element of surrender seems quite pronounced here. It's just like in the Saturn energy, also Saturn in Pisces right now, and the moon is transiting through Pisces, preparing to come into a conjunction with Saturn in Pisces as we move through this next couple of days. It really is kind of permeating everything. Even though the Neptune energy at 29 degrees of the sign of Pisces, it is the focal point. There's like a weight or a burden or gravity or sense of overwhelm or responsibility, like the pressure of it all, being at the end of something, like taking things seriously, or just the weight of the world, feeling like we might collapse underneath it if we are not able to get out or release ourselves from something. This sense maybe of like desperation or desire for relief, but also seemingly no way out. If you find yourself in that place for whatever reason, as we move towards this next eclipse that's coming up, it is like what is being energetically indicated. Things could feel like they are teetering on the brink as we move into the weekend, but something should change, something should give, something should resolve or release itself once we begin to move through this new moon in Aries energy. I think a lot of resolutions could come with whatever we are about to or are moving through right now. Letting go, of course, things that are specifically related to the Venus energy, money, valuables, assets, attachments, relationships, projects, other people. These are the areas and themes that are most highly indicated here. But it kind of also feels like we're reaching the point where whatever it is that we may have been gaining from those things, whatever value or worth we were deriving from those things, we just don't find it valuable anymore. We don't find it worth it anymore. And so we're likely to give it up. I do think a lot of people are going to be at a point of sacrifice or surrender because, again, like they just don't have the desire to keep doing something. This is the desire, though, with Venus retrograde conjunct Neptune at 29 degrees of the sign of Pisces while the moon is in the sign of Pisces. And we're the last couple of days of the energetic year and the lunar cycle and this eclipses, the desire to transcend, to escape, to avoid, to dissolve, to obscure, also to like donate, to give away, to cleanse, clean, release. Super fantasy oriented energy, also super idealistic, very divinely inspired, very creative, very artistic, very spiritually oriented. If you are into, you know, being an artist or a creative or a musician or a mystic, this is energy that you probably feel actually like quite at home in. However, it is not for the things that are like grounded in like practical, tangible reality. And with the moon also, as I said, in the sign of Pisces, emphasizing the Piscean energy even more. It is everything that is kind of happening today, tomorrow, and Friday. There is a huge dimension of just like illusoriness that is going on out there. Major distortions in our perceptions of things. Honesty, clarity, straightforwardness, truthfulness, seeing things for what they really are. This is just not the vibe. This is not what is supported. I would imagine that I just wouldn't really take anything that anyone's saying out there too seriously right now. A lot of people are going to be caught up in legitimately like some personal delusion or illusion that they are perceiving to be true and that they are projecting and casting over the larger reality as though it were true, but in reality it's actually only true for them. And then they're going to be wondering why the rest of the reality is not supporting their vision of whatever's going on, and it could create these like profound feelings of confusion and stuff like that, and disorientation and being detached from reality. I do really think, you know, a lot of us are going to be existing in our own little worlds as we move through Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And I do think we're also going to come to find, as this energy passes and we look back at this time, we're going to realize that we were like not seeing something correctly, or that like we were confused about something, or that our perception was just distorted somehow, even though as we are moving through it, we're likely to think that we're right. People are likely to think that they're right about things, but just be aware of that. You know, you may have a hard time getting the real truth out of someone. People are also just likely to be more dishonest generally right now. And I just, as difficult as it may be, I don't think we should try to take things or people too seriously. We're in an eclipse window. Things are not as they seem. Things are happening for reasons not clearly discernible right now as well. And most things are out of our control. We are, of course, again, like in these times of highly fated, destined karmic energy. Our ability to have emotional fortitude and resilience and maintain some semblance of grounding in our faith right now, surrendering what we can't control, the elements of things playing out that literally like there's just nothing we can do about it, to a higher power. You know, one of the dimensions of Saturn in the sign of Pisces, it's funny because Saturn's presence in the sign of Pisces can really test our faith and limit our faith and make it really hard for us to have faith in things. But on the other side of things, it also can strengthen our faith and give us more spiritual resiliency and more like spiritual discipline and stuff like that. So it kind of is functioning both ways. If possible, I recommend having some type of spiritual practice or spiritual discipline, even if you are feeling like your faith is being tested or shaken, or you're having a hard time believing in anything right now, because that is also a way that this can manifest. But Mars in the trine to Saturn, that's another element of just these times that we're moving through right now, and it's going to be present for the next several weeks as well. Mars trine Saturn gives us a certain level of spiritual endurance or emotional strength and motivation, or just the ability to make it through hard times in a way where in other energy circumstances may have broken us. So we do have the energetic support right now. If we decide that we can surrender the burden to the higher power, I am in the hands of God, and therefore I know that I am protected despite not knowing where any of this is going, acknowledging that it doesn't make any sense, perhaps feeling like we've been victimized or manipulated or deceived or lied to in some type of a way, or being at a point of difficult ending in terms of something that we've been attached to. There is a, like, it's like that's the one like magic skill tool antidote that universe is providing right now, is the ability to endure through hard times if we can just surrender to our faith, which is not an easy thing. I do also, though, and it makes sense in the context of the North Node transiting through the sign of Pisces right now, which ultimately is all about this period of spiritual growth. I do think that what we are going through now, and that, you know, contradiction that we may be facing in terms of our faith, or, you know, whatever tests or karmic this, that, or the other, or difficult times this time may be presenting to us, I do think in the future our faith will ultimately have been strengthened through whatever it is that we are having to work through or deal with right now. From our limited stance and perspective and ability to see the future and like where this is all going now currently, though, these could be some very disorienting and very, very challenging times. So if nothing makes sense, if you feel like everything is kind of falling apart in some way and you can't go on, you're just at the limit, at the breaking point, at the ending, so is the energy field right now. So it is an alignment, even though it obviously may not be the most pleasant experience to go through. Now, as I said, we will have a Venus-Neptune conjunction in Aries, though, that does come up in May, and that will indicate the fresh start or a new beginning, or just like a much different vibe in the context of whatever we're going through right now. So if you want to like plot a little timeline for yourself and have something to look forward to, there should definitely be, I mean, as of this new moon in Aries that's coming up right now, there should be some type of change that is imminent regarding whatever's going on right now. But as I said, we kind of get a slow start to the month of April because Saturn is still so prominent and we still have retrograde planets, and the ruler of the sign of Aries, Mars, is like exactly aspecting Saturn as we move into that energy as well. And as we move into the first week of April, Saturn, of course, limits, restrains, and holds things back. So it may be the second half of the month of April, the beginning of May, before things really start to rearrange themselves in a way that is leading to the momentum associated with these new beginnings. But if you want to chart it out, by the time that we get through the beginning of May, something pertaining to whatever is going on now should in some way have shifted in a way that it has introduced some new beginning somehow. But for now, this very dreamy, very surreal, very slow-paced, non-linear, no one knows what's going on, detached energy. Be careful like driving and like operating heavy equipment, or like even like boats and stuff like that. People genuinely are like not paying attention. There could be like vision issues going on out there. Neptune represents the haze and the fog, and again, like things not being clear. So there might just be a lot that is distorting, or people just not paying attention. Okay, so something to keep in mind as well. No one is really in their right mind right now, I would say. Mercury is also retrograde, about to do the same exact thing that Venus did, retrograde back into the sign of Pisces, can join Neptune over this next couple of days also. We'll be talking about that coming up, but great energy, you guys, overall, as I said, for art, creativity, spirituality. Take a retreat. You want the best energy ever for some type of like seaside or lakeside vacation or retreat. Oh, this is definitely it. Rest, relaxation, things to do with water. You'll have probably, those will go well. You'll have a good time doing anything having to do with that, but anything else could be difficult to execute properly in a way that has any type of like lasting success or results in this energy. Be careful with mistakes and errors in written and verbal communications as well. And, you know, again, this is not the time you want to get into a commitment or an investment, you guys, especially like starting some new relationship. Now, maybe if your chart is being aspected a certain way and this is like a past relationship that is like coming back after a certain number of years and like so many karmic lessons associated with it, that like now is the time for that union to come online. Like, in very specific, distinct cases, there are possibilities where past issues could be being fixed in a way that promotes them to move forward in the context of relationships. But generally, this is not like, you don't want to really be entertaining people from the past. You don't want to be getting in new relationships, initiating any type of relationship, trying to like solidify anything right now to like commit to something. With all of this Neptunian energy, that's literally like trying to build some type of structure right on the tide line in the beach sand, okay? And then like thinking that it's going to be stable and solid and stay put and like serve the test of time and be like the thing that lasts your lifetime. That's literally craziness. Like, that's like trying to get into a committed relationship right now is a dimension of that, like being in some type of an illusion or fantasy or dreamland right now. Like, it may seem perfect, it may seem like the dream come true, the actual dream, the actual vision that you have always had for yourself, standing right in front of you and offering you their hand. I'm telling you, it's not gonna last. It's a fantasy. It's not a reality. For whatever reason, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this is not energy that is supportive of commitments. Also, in terms of financial stuff, this is not when you want to make a big purchase. This is not when you want to go out and buy a brand new car, buy a brand new house, make a big like investment in anything. It's just not the time. This energy indicates disappointment in the end, in the context of what we are trying to attach to, invest in, commit to. So just be very careful, even with like changes to your appearance and stuff like that. Like, if you're getting any type of like cosmetic surgery or, you know, any type of like lasting physical changes, you may just not kind of like hold off. You know, if you're trying to get rid of something, if this is something that you have been looking to change for a very long time about your aesthetic or your image, if you're trying to like switch up your style or something, yes, this could be an appropriate time to perhaps make some alterations to the way that you present yourself. But if it's something that is like permanent and you want like lasting good results with, I don't know. But again, if this is like to fix something that was botched in the past, it may be better. But I would not recommend doing something like that. Even like dyeing your hair or something right now, I would be careful, because chances are after the next couple weeks, you're not going to like it as much as you thought you did when you did it. So there's my little rant on that. Anyways, next line of my notes, rationality is very fleeting right now, so just take that and apply it to everything I just said. Feelings and intuition are very prominent though. A lot of people are going to have a much more tangible connection to their intuitive faculty right now as we move through this energy. A lot of people are going to be getting gut instincts, gut feelings, not knowing why, but just knowing something. And this is also lending itself to like the weird, distorted, surreal energy right now, because oftentimes, especially people that like don't follow this type of thing, are not inclined to experience those more highly, you know, being guided by intuition and like spiritual knowings, or just like the more pronounced like spiritual experiences happening within them or around them and stuff. But right now, you guys, Neptune at 29 degrees of the sign of Pisces, there essentially is not a more highly spiritual time. There is no real boundary or border between the spiritual realms and the spiritual world and the physical, tangible 3D world right now. This is a time of probably some profound spiritual experiences or events or phenomenon that are taking place. Very, very powerful psychic energy. Intuition, again, is like off the charts. So many people are going to be responding to things intuitively and psychically and like not even realizing that they're doing it. And that could also be kind of what's playing into some of this release energy right now, just like intuitively knowing or being almost like intuitively compelled to do things, and it literally is like their higher self functioning through them without even their conscious knowledge, because again, this is not a conscious energy. This is like an energy of the unconscious sort of permeating our conscious reality, of the spirit world permeating the tangible reality, the invisible and the visible, like intermingling and integrating is one, even if we're not seeing it that way because of our inability to like perceive reality correctly in this energy. So, you know, things are really all over the place. Everybody, as I said, is like in this bubble of their own illusion somehow, and likely either lying to themselves and unaware that they're doing it, and some self-delusion or over-idealization or fantasy about something, whether it be for the better or the worse, misinterpreting or having a skewed perception of certain events and situations as they're unfolding, thinking maybe something means one thing when it actually means something totally different, and when we like snap out of it in a couple days or get more information or our mind starts working a little bit differently, we're like, oh, like I totally understand what that was about right now, and I was actually looking at that backwards, or I was seeing that wrong, or I misheard or misunderstood something, or I was reading something and I didn't see that word and I like had just skimmed over it, and I didn't, now that I'm reading it again, I realize it has a whole different context or means something totally different. So there's that. Now, another part of the problem I think that could be going on right now is that we are at this time of ending, this time of pronounced or profound karmic endings. And as a result of that, this is also certain patterns breaking down, patterning, cycles, like this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens historically every time for like our entire experience of life. And now all of a sudden, you know, we're doing this and we're doing this, but the next thing and the next thing that have always happened after that are not happening anymore. It's like doing things a certain way used to yield a certain outcome or a certain result, and that's not necessarily happening the same way anymore. People and situations aren't behaving the ways that they always had as a result of all of these just like energetic alterations that are happening right now, and the way that is impacting our minds and our behaviors, and we are responding to that. And not to mention just the way that these frequencies are coming in generally right now and altering kind of like the greater macrocosm level of things as well. Like things are changing. The ways that things have been done historically for long periods of time are going to start to shift and change. And that is going to apply all the way down to like the most minute cycles of like patterning cycles that we've been used to going on with, or that we've been used to like kind of playing themselves out again. So it's like you're used to acting a certain way and getting a certain result, but now you're acting that certain way and you're getting a totally different result. And that is also really kind of probably confusing people and distorting the perception of things and leading to a lack of understanding collectively that could just really be messing with people again this week, because the old ways, the old order, the old rules, the old cycles, right? The old traditions. There is a breakdown. Saturn in the sign of Pisces. This is the breakdown of the like boundaries and the rules and limitations and the authorities and the control systems that were essentially the framework of this energy that we are moving out of right now. So things that have always worked and operated a certain way, like you put one thing in and you got one thing out. It's like we put something in now, we expect to get something out, we're getting something totally different. So that is like its own situation that could just be playing into all of this as well. Now, I want to get more into this Black Moon and Scorpio transit that we have coming in on Thursday, also in the midst of all of this. And it's so interesting because I'm talking about being at this time of like profound culmination points, like very certain endings that are coming into fruition right now. But the black moon moving through the sign of Scorpio can bring up subconscious fears of loss. And considering that we are moving through a period of time right now, which is all about really having to come to the end of some things like death and rebirth, having to let some things go. And then we've got the black moon and Scorpio coming in right there. Again, like this upcoming spring, moving into the summer of next year, really the next 9 months could be putting us in a place where we are having to conquer some fears in relation to loss and maybe like a sense of powerlessness. Now, the flip side of the black moon energy, subconscious fear of loss, could be manifested through possessiveness. Black moon and Scorpio energy can be very, very possessive, very, very obsessive, very competitive. Like we're willing to do anything to win, or rather to avoid losing when we've got this energy activated. It can also have a tendency to kind of trigger compulsive spending or gathering or consuming of like material possessions or food or stuff like that, as a projection of this fear of loss or losing as well. It has a lot to do with power. When we're talking about Scorpio, ruled by one of the co-rulers is Pluto, power in all the forms. Projecting power can come through here in the form of wealth, money, material possessions, in order to hide this feeling of powerlessness within. And also we may come to realize what I think more so, this is really how this could function. I think that we could kind of start to figure out what it is that we've been holding on to, maybe out of some type of fear of loss, as opposed to that thing actually being what we really want, which Venus at retrograde at 29 degrees of Pisces as the black moon enters the sign of Scorpio, especially as we move through the initial phase of this black moon and Scorpio transit. That is a strong indication of how this energy could be manifesting as well. This could also have to do with possession or ownership in some way that is triggering shadow side issues over this next 9 months. Over this period of time, we will learn more about our own triggers in relation to the things, as I said, that we hold on to out of fear of loss or fear of change. This is fixed sign energy, and it's probably going to show us like some of our most stubborn tendencies and attachments and deep-seated fears. Now, what I generally understand about the black moon, this energy, you know, it rules our shadow side nature, which has to do with like the way that I perceive it. It's like almost like the protection mechanisms that like our subconscious mind has put into place as a result of traumas that we've experienced but are still kind of like unhealed within us, and as a result of that holds a lot of power over the way that we react and respond in situations, the type of things we're attracted to, the way that we behave in relationship dynamics, and what our deeper triggers are. The black moon energy often has a lot to do with the things that just make us upset or make us act out in certain ways, but we don't necessarily understand why. And obviously, if we are, you know, acting out in certain ways at certain times and not understanding what it's about, or that we're even doing it, or what is triggering it or causing it, it's holding a lot of power over the way that our life is playing out. Now, in order to kind of take that power back, which is something that we will gain through any black moon transit, we ultimately gain a greater sense of self-empowerment over whatever it is that we have similarly gained an awareness of that has been going on within ourselves over that period of time. So, you know, we are moving out right now of black moon and Libra energy. Black moon and Libra has to do with a fear of being rejected, a fear of not fitting in, a fear of not being perceived as perfect or beautiful, or not being accepted in some type of way. Over this past 9 months, we may have had to face a fear of being rejected from something. We may have needed to learn how to stand more strongly in our own individual identity somehow and not allow ourselves to act and behave in certain ways as a result of some subconscious programming within us that seeks to people please or be accepted or like fit the mold that is socially appropriate and stuff like that. Black moon and Libra energy. Now we have Black moon and Scorpio energy. That has to do with fears ultimately of loss, of endings. As a result of that, we try to possess things, we try to hold on to things, and it's this fixed energy. So it can be very obsessive, it can be very possessive, and it can be very, very self-destructive. The Black moon in Scorpio, this is a very pure Black moon transit. We get 9 months with the Black moon in any sign. Black moon in Scorpio, this is a journey through the underworld of our own psyche, really like looking under the stones and like, you know, looking in the places that have been hidden and suppressed, especially pertaining perhaps to our own sense of personal power. But it's likely to put us in situations maybe where we need to face some internal demons or some darkness again that we've been suppressing or repressing, and the unhealed wounds that they may stem from, maybe needing to acknowledge some things that we've been trying to hide from ourselves or just haven't wanted to look at for a certain period of time. Again, this is relating back to 2016, so you may have had similar experiences, or if you kind of just think about your relationship with yourself or maybe some of the things that you were up against in 2016, there could be similarities that play out between then and now. But we're journeying through the underworld of our own psyche and our own subconscious mind over this next 9 months, and it is coming in the midst of all of this death and rebirth, ending and beginning, the past bridging itself into the future, eclipse window energy that we're going through right now as well. So this is where I think that we are being, again, like tested to face our fears of letting go of our comfort zone maybe, and finding ultimately true power within through both the ability to maybe face that fear and also this spiritual strength and resilience and faith that is the outcome of whatever we persevere or make it through now as well. So it all seems to come back to this phase of spiritual growth that I do think we are going through right now, and is the ultimate outcome of what like all of this is turning itself into, even though it may not be the most fun times ever to move through. So that's what I have to say for the astrology today, you guys. Another very weird week, as is to be expected when we have an energetic setup like this going on. We have tarot cards that we're going to talk about today. Actually, we really only have one tarot card to talk about. Today was one of those weird days where I shuffled and did my normal shuffle, but like 9.95 times out of 10 I get cards come out of the shuffle. I didn't have any, not even one card came out of the shuffle today. The only thing that I have to go by is the 7 of Swords on the back of the deck. We also have the 9 of Pentacles underneath it. This is an energy of deception. This can be an energy of stealing power, trying to get away with things, things happening like behind our back, and again, things happening that we're unaware of. With the 9 of Pentacles under there, that is like our quest to become self-made, to become successful, to have our efforts and what we've been working on, our projects, our creations pay off, like in and of our own efforts. This is not like a collaborative effort. This is not something that someone gave us. This is not something that we've been doing in the context of like any type of group or anything. This is the outcome of our own efforts. It's us like picking ourselves up by our bootstraps and making something of ourselves. And then with the 7 of Swords here, another way, like this specific combination could be having some type of false perception of our ability to be successful. It could have to do with doubting our own power to be resourceful, to find or create financial abundance and stability for ourselves. There could be a lot of self-doubt on the path to achieving our goals, perhaps, that we are struggling or dealing with right now. This could also be sabotage. We could feel like people are sabotaging our efforts to get ahead, or our ability to build something or make something of ourselves. We could feel like everybody is kind of working against us or doubting our process. It could be receiving like a lot of criticism or negative feedback as well, like people kind of telling you that you can't do it. But the Seven of Swords is like a card notoriously about things not being truthful. Things happening behind the scenes, people trying to make a break for it, get away with something, and maybe an inability to see things or see ourselves or see our progress or our growth for what we really are or what it really is. So very short message for today, you guys, but I do find it so funny that we have the Seven of Swords coming out. We've got all of this strong Neptunian energy. Be real careful what you're buying into. That's another thing with this energy. Be very careful that you're not just like buying whatever anybody's trying to sell you. Like scams and frauds and stuff like that could be represented through this entire energy. Like I was saying earlier, be very careful spending a lot of money right now. Like buyer's remorse is all over this chart, and especially people's ability to like hypnotize us or manipulate us through some pitch that is actually not real into buying something, like frauds, scams, getting away with stuff. Those people are having a heyday in this energy. So don't be one of them. That's what this energy is saying to me as well. Now, you guys, we're gonna get a synchronicity card. I'm gonna get one final piece of advice, guidance for us, God, Spirit, Universe. First, let's talk about bracelets for a minute. Again, I'm wearing my favorite little triad of Otter Spirit beads right here. Morganite, Celestite. I love this one. I don't know if I've showed you guys this one yet. I absolutely love the stone Celestite. Super, super, super pretty. Love that one too. It goes perfect with my Morganite and the Moonstone. And let me remind you also, whenever you get these bracelets from, I actually don't have one right here of the stones that I'm wearing, but whenever you get bracelets from Otter Spirit or jewelry, they send you these really nice little cards that have all of the qualities of the stone on there, the intention, the zodiac signs they're associated with, and the chakras that they're associated with as well. This one is for citrine. I don't have the specific ones on my desk right now, but that's what I'm wearing. And I also, of course, have my all-time fave shungite on, really beautiful shungite bracelet. So if you want bracelets like my bracelets, mine come from Otter Spirit. They are a small company out of Southern California. If you want 20% off your order, I have a 20% off code Aubrey20 in my description box below, or you can order from that link down there. And that's a great way to support my channel too and get some really awesome bracelets. So that's that. Now let's get us a synchronicity card asking God, Spirit, Universe, what is one final piece of information that we need to know? What should we keep in mind? What is happening out there? What should we tell ourselves? What's our spiritual guidance in this time of profound spiritual guidance? That is one really good thing that this energy is great for, you guys. Divine inspiration, spiritual guidance. Also, another thing I didn't say in this report, but I've been talking about lately, be careful with like drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. Be careful with substances that you're ingesting. This Neptune energy can make us hypersensitive to things, and things can just get out of control in terms of, again, like the detaching from reality, like overdoses and stuff like that can be more common. We've got energy like this. And our card says forgive. Which could not be more in alignment, right? Resolutions, letting go, forgiveness could be a major part of that. These karmic endings, maybe the last thing that's like hanging on right now is the inability to forgive. And like once we finally can cut that cord, that is when things can finally go their separate direction. But that's what we have, forgiveness. And it says, be not afraid, for the pestilence that walketh in darkness. That's the black moon and Scorpio energy coming in right there as well, okay? You are in the dark when you indulge in depression, feeling sorry for yourself, anger, or ill will. When you condemn yourself or others, these are pestilences of the darkness. Anger towards others reflects your emotionally charged state. You violate the law of harmony and it will bring you trouble. Forgive yourself and others and hail God in your midst to heal your anger. Pray, thank you, God, for removing my anger. So forgiveness is the key right now, you guys, and really on an energetic level, like forgiveness is the key. When we are able to, it is kind of associated with the black moon energy, you know what I mean? Like when we are able to forgive a situation and literally like no longer harbor within us any of the negative energy associated with any of the pain that we experienced that put us in a place of needing to forgive in the first place, we're releasing ourselves from that negative experience. Like we're cutting the cord between us and whoever did that energetically for ourselves. We're not forgiving for the sake of necessarily the other person, because us holding negative feelings within ourselves based on whatever someone else might have done to us does literally nothing to impact that other person. It does not energetically impact their lives whatsoever, other than keeping the energetic cord between us and them alive. Forgiveness and the beauty in forgiveness, and why it's such like so emphasized on a spiritual level in pretty much every religion, is because of the impact that it has on releasing us actually from whatever like cycle of experience brought us into contact with that situation in the first place. Forgiveness is a spiritual tool in kind of like the highest order, and that's what we're being called upon to invoke as we move through the rest of this eclipse window. So that's what I have to say today, you guys. Message from the stars, message from the cards. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did like it, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel, you guys. Share it with your friends if you think they would enjoy this type of astrology content as well. Leave me comments, you guys. I am so grateful for your presence on my channel. If you are having experiences that line up with what I'm talking about in these videos, please let me know in my comment section below. Also, let me know what crystals you guys are wearing out there today. If you want to know what's on this whiteboard, I have a Facebook group linked in my description box below. That's where you can find full images of those boards. Come back with me, you guys. We've got one more video to come out this week. Of course, it is going to be featuring the new moon solar eclipse in Aries that we've got coming up on the 29th. Now, I will also say Neptune enters the sign of Aries on the 30th, the very next day on Sunday. I am going to be having a video all about that comes out to get our week started next week. So this weekend we have the full moon, new moon solar eclipse. On Monday, we're going to be talking all about Neptune entering the sign of Aries. 2 more big videos coming up next. I'll be back to talk all about it. You don't want to miss it. I'll see you next time, guys. Have a beautiful midpoint to your week. And until then, bye.